Hello and welcome to Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog, and today I thought I'd reach out to all the lovely people who've been subscribing and watching to see if you can maybe help me figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my week off in a couple of weeks' time. My wife and I want to go away. We want to take our kids somewhere, like a cabin in the woods or something like that. That sounds a bit sinister. We looked at a site called Forest Holidays. And the idea was we were just going to go sit in the forest for a week and do whatever fun and games the place we were staying in had. Bit like Centre Parks, but I don't have to sell my kidneys to go. So yeah, the problem we've got is it's 2 weeks away. It's the Easter holidays, and everyone in the world is booked, so we're completely screwed. I'm also slightly nervous because we're not the best at going on a trip without something stupid happening. Living in a cartoon life like I do, it bleeds into my family, and it seems to just affect things. A few years back, we went to Lanzarote for a week. I can't even say it; it's my Essex accent, and we hadn't even left the country before we screwed up. We sat down for a meal, and just as we got given our food in the airport, they randomly announced that our flight was boarding. We didn't know what that meant. We assumed that meant the flight was going in the next 10 minutes, so we sprinted across the entire airport because we were miles away from our terminal. I remember picking up my daughter, who must have been, I don't know, about 4, and my son was in a pushchair, and we legged it as fast as we could. My wife ran with my daughter while I ran with the little pushchair, going as fast as I could. My son's just going all the way through the airport. My daughter's crying her eyes out. I'm telling him to go ahead because I can't take my son up the stairs. I have to wait for a lift. Everyone around us is wondering what the hell was going on. And then when we got to the plane, we had to wait for an hour in a really long queue, and we'd left about 20 quid's worth of food back at the restaurant. Really, really annoyed. So that's like one holiday. The next holiday we went on, we were probably there an afternoon, and I was completely sunburned because the stuff we'd brought wasn't proper sunscreen. I didn't know there was a thing. We ended up getting. I feel like we were probably slightly ripped off, although it worked. So I'm happy that we did it. But there was a lady there who saw how burnt we were and did this whole sales pitch on us and showed us this magic stuff that she could sell. And we put it on and we were fine and it was all good. But for like that first afternoon, I felt like I had just set fire to my skin. My poor daughter had all this kind of slight burns on her as well, but it was mainly me, just ruined. It doesn't even stop there. It's not just me. My wife's the same. On our honeymoon, we didn't go abroad. We went to Centre Parks because we just had my daughter as well. And again, first day, maybe second day of the week we were there, my wife decided to try abseiling around on this thing where you grab hold of it and it drags you around the lake. She got dragged around, managed to hold on for most of it before just flying off, but she was just crippled for the entire week then, couldn't move, was in agony. Everything was just around, kind of taking her slowly around places. And I have nothing that I particularly enjoy, so I didn't do the abseiling, I didn't do any fishing, I didn't do anything. I tried yoga, thinking it'd be interesting. It was meditation or something like that, and I was just sat in a room with 3 or 4 middle-aged women who all kept breaking wind, and so I just kind of sat there for a bit before legging it and not going back. I mean, that whole week was kind of riddled with little mistakes. I remember my daughter and my wife were in the pool. I went to take a picture, and then I put the camera back. As I walked back in talking to them, I just slipped, completely face planted in the pool. Everyone nearby ran to my aid. I was fine. I thought it was the funniest thing ever, but I remember having a bruise and being in pain and that. So I'm slightly nervous because going on trips where I'm the adult and my wife's the adult. I mean, she's responsible most of the time. I know I've just said a couple of times she's crippled herself or whatever, but she's the responsible one. But she's got 3 kids now to look after. She can't be looking after me. I have to be the second most responsible person there. Although my daughter Lamp Up is getting older, so she can start being responsible. Her name's not actually Lamp Up, but that's what we're going with. People who've known me for a while, Sheepdog, Lamp Up. There's other names. I'm not going to say them on the video because one of them's rude and I didn't pick it, and that's the name that's kind of stuck, sadly. I'm trying to think where else you've kind of gone that's not ended with some kind of silly thing happening. They've always been really fun holidays. We can't go abroad because, being an idiot, I haven't got a passport. I want to go somewhere in the UK. I went to Cornwall earlier in the year or last year. I forget how long ago it was now, with some friends. That was good fun. Although, again, being typical kind of jinx with these things, I did cause a bit of a row on the first night and ended up doing my back in on about the fourth day, climbing a very, very steep hill. So I'm kind of trying to avoid that. I think my ideal holiday doesn't really match up with anyone else's, because my idea is I would just take a load of my comics and stuff like that, and I would just kind of sit there and read through them one by one, watching this pile go down and this pile go up, and then I would get to the end of the week and I'd be like, woohoo, I'm done, and then I'd have an excuse to go to Comic Con in a couple of months and buy loads more books. My wife's idea of a holiday is to kind of go and do literally everything there is. Go to a zoo, go to a cave, go to a beach, go to a museum, go to a sea life centre, whatever she can think of. But it's hard. I mean, I get it, and I want to do those things too. And it's finding that balance. But we can't find anywhere where we haven't already been 101 times. You know, we can't find anywhere where we... where we don't want to just go to a zoo that we've been to before and stuff like that. I've just thought while I'm talking there of another thing that I did wrong on a holiday. There's a zoo up north called South Lakes Zoo, I think it is, or South Lakes Safari Park. It's in the Lake District. It's south of the lakes, I guess. We went there with my daughter when she was about 2 or 3, and when I'd been before, I got invited into the penguin enclosure to feed the penguins, and there's basically, you know, like, it was really good fun. I got a bucket of fish and I'm throwing fish to them all and that sort of thing. So when we got to the park, that was one of the things I really wanted to do. And like, we basically went to the back of the park where the penguins were. There were some people in there. So I was like, wee. So me and my little 2-3-year-old daughter, she's very short at the time, wander in, you know, I've got an awesome picture, which if I, at some point in the future, people want to see it, I'll show, because it proves the story happened as well. But we were in the enclosure. I'm pointing at the penguin. The penguin's trying to nip my hand. I'm like, oh god, these are pretty vicious. They probably shouldn't let people in here. They seem a little bit angry. I'm holding my daughter while these penguins are surrounding us, and there's like a bit of a path out, but it's closing in on us. And suddenly over the tannoy, I heard like, guests are reminded that it should not be entering the enclosures. And then something else was just kind of like, please exit the penguin enclosure. And I had to kind of just grab my daughter and run out the door. It turns out that something in the year since I'd been there had changed, and you were no longer supposed to be in there. It may have been I was in there as part of a pre-booked event. You know, it was there, it was the afternoon at 4:30, they feed the penguins. But when I got there were people in there, so I just jumped the fence. I opened the gate and went in. We made loads more mistakes like that at this zoo. There was giraffes that you could feed, and we're feeding them, and then they were saying, don't feed them the trees and don't stroke them, and we're like literally just holding a branch and stroking them at the same time. I mean, aside from breaking the rules, that is the best zoo in the world. I do think it had some issues a few years back, but in terms of the way their animals get to live and the way they look after their animals, it is a really, really cool place. I just need to make sure I follow the etiquette of the parks, because I don't know, I just assume if the rule was one thing one day, it's going to be the same in future. I don't really check then, and I've valuable lesson learned, I guess. So I guess, again, bringing back to my point, I'm a bit of a nightmare with these things, but can anyone suggest anything good? I want to basically stay in some kind of either a cabin or a cottage. It needs to be able to have 2 separate bedrooms, one for me and my wife, one for the kids. The baby will probably come in our one. My wife wants a hot tub. I'm kind of, yeah, fair enough. Generally, I need a website. I don't want someone to suggest a specific building. I need a site that's good for finding these things, because I've looked on Airbnb, I've looked on the Forest Holidays site, I've looked on Ho Seasons, I think it was called, which is not what it sounds like. Yeah, I've looked at loads of different websites and I just can't find anywhere good. I'm kind of like, we're at a point now where it's a week and a half till we would need to be going, so I think we're running out of time, and at that point I need a plan B. Like, is there 4 places we can go that are within a 3-hour drive of Peterborough that are awesome and we probably haven't already been to, in which case where are they and what should we do? Because if I can convince us to have a stay-at-home holiday where we spend the same amount of money but we don't leave the house, I reckon I could still make that quite fun, and I could still just do these videos like normal, and I don't know, that might work. Give me your ideas. Anyway, that's all I'm going to do for today. It took me a lot of time to try and think of what I wanted to talk about and how I wanted to do it and that kind of thing. It's quite a challenge. These people who do these every day for hundreds and hundreds of days and ends up becoming their full-time thing, they really have some skill. I was finding it difficult some days to write something, but I need to start thinking about this first thing in the morning and have plans bubbling in my head and make a list and all that kind of thing. I'm sure that's probably what people do. I'm loving it still, really enjoying doing it. I'm glad I made the decision to bow to the peer pressure and get on with it. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. Give me a like, subscribe, comment. I'm trying to point to where they are. I don't know where they are on your screen. Give me your ideas, any help appreciated. Aside from anything, I need somewhere to go so that I can come back and tell you all the stupid things I did while I was there. I need to have Wi-Fi so I can upload daily videos as well. I'm quite excited because it's a week off, just over Easter, so I've got, technically I've got a week off, but I've also got Good Friday, which makes it a full, I don't know how many days that is, 10 days, which I'm so pumped about. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. Give me your ideas, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good evening.